Would you like to make a podcast? Spotify has a way to let you make one easily, distribute it everywhere, and even earn money, all in one place, for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit right from your phone or computer, so you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify, and everywhere else podcasts are heard. And video podcasts are also available on Spotify. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free. You know, ever since I discovered Spotify for Podcasters, I've enjoyed sharing my favorite stories with children around the world. If you've ever thought of starting your own podcast, download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started. The Story of Rumpelstiltskin. Once upon a time, there was a poor miller who had just one daughter. She was very beautiful, and he told many people about her. One day, the king rode through the village. The miller, desperately wanting to impress the king, yelled out to the king, "Your Highness, my daughter is very pretty and smart." But the king took no notice. So the miller yelled out a lie. "She can spin straw into gold." The king stopped. "Your daughter must be very clever. Bring her to the palace tomorrow so I can see for myself," demanded the king. The miller did not want to disobey the king, so the next day he brought his daughter to the palace. The king led the girl to a room filled with straw. On the floor stood a little stool and a spinning wheel. "Spin this straw into gold by tomorrow morning, or you'll be thrown in the dungeon," said the king. Then he left the room and locked the door. The miller's daughter sat down on the stool and gazed at the straw all around her. She wept bitterly at the impossible task before her. All of a sudden, the door sprang open, and in came the strangest little man she had ever seen. "Why are you crying?" he asked. "I have to spin this straw into gold before morning, but I don't know how," replied the girl sadly. "If you give me your pretty necklace, I will spin your straw into gold," said the strange little man. "Oh, thank you," gasped the girl, wiping away her tears and handing over her necklace. The little man sat down at the spinning wheel and set to work. All night long the little man spun, and by morning the room was filled with reels of gold. And just as suddenly as he had appeared, the strange man disappeared. When the king arrived, he was astonished to see so much gold. "You have done very well," he said, "but I wonder if you can do the same thing again." He took the miller's daughter to a much bigger room. It, too, was filled with straw. "Spin the straw into gold by tomorrow morning, or you will be thrown into the dungeon," said the king. And once more he locked the girl in the room. The miller's daughter was very frightened, but the strange little man appeared before her again. "Don't cry," he said. "Give me your shiny ring, and I will spin your straw into gold." She handed over the ring gratefully, and the little man set to work. Once again, all the straw was turned into gold. The king, however, wanted her to try one more time. "If you can do this one more time, you shall be my queen," declared the king. The poor miller's daughter wept even more bitterly this time when the king left. "Why are you crying?" said the little man, appearing for the third time. "You know I will help you." "But I have nothing left to give you," sobbed the girl. "But if you become queen," replied the little man, "you can give me your firstborn child." The desperate miller's daughter agreed to the man's request, and once again he spun all the straw into gold. The king was so delighted when he saw all the gold the next day that he kept his promise, and he married the miller's daughter. The new queen was very happy, and soon forgot about the promise she had made the strange little man who saved her from the dungeon. A year later, the king and queen had a beautiful baby boy. Late one night, the little man appeared in the queen's bedroom as she watched over her sleeping baby. "I'm here for your baby," he said, "just as you promised." The queen was horrified. "Oh, please, take my jewels and money instead, not my son." "No," replied the little man. "You made a promise, but I will give you 3 days. If in that time you can guess my name, then I will let you keep your baby." The desperate queen agreed, and the next day she sent messengers all over the kingdom to collect every boy's name they could find. That night, the strange man appeared again, and the queen read out all the names she had gathered. But after each name, he just laughed. The next day, the queen sent her messengers out to find even more names, and that night, she read out the new names when the little man appeared. But once again, the queen's guesses were wrong. On the third day, the poor queen was in despair. It was getting late by the time her last messenger returned. "Your Highness, I haven't found any new names," he said. "But as I was returning through the forest, I saw a little man leaping and dancing around a fire, singing a song. It went like this: 'The queen will never win my game, for Rumpelstiltskin is my name.'" The queen was overjoyed. When the little man appeared that night, the queen said, "Are you perhaps named Rumpelstiltskin?" The little man was furious. He stomped his foot so hard that it went through the floor. Then, pulling on his leg until it was free, he stomped out of the room and was never seen or heard from again. And the king and queen and their son lived happily ever after. Thank you for listening to Bedtime Stories. Please make sure you subscribe to follow us for more stories and, of course, share them with a friend. You can get notified of new stories on Twitter and Instagram @MagicMonorail. If you have a suggestion for a new story, send us an email, magicmonorail@gmail.com. Until next time, good night.